Welcome back to Mortgage Minute. I'm Anthony Barr, your host, and today we have Nancy Pav here in the studio with us. Nancy, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Good, fantastic. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Nancy Pav. I am a associate broker with Century 21 Redwood Realty here in Ashburn, Virginia, and I have been licensed since 1997, helping people buy and sell houses.
So you've been around for a while.
Yeah, a few days. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about the buyer consultation.
Okay.
Spring market is upon us. Hot market, crazy market out there. What's the first three things a buyer should know when they go into a buyer consultation with a real estate agent?
That's a great question. So the first thing I recommend people do is come into the office and meet with me. I generally go over 10 steps, but we'll talk about just a couple of them today. The first one is financing. Financing is really important when it comes to buying a house, as you know.
Right. Can't buy a house without money.
Exactly. And that's what I tell my clients, that you can't buy a house without money, and most of the money comes from the lender. I'm sorry, but I also tell them that this is the hard part. Right. I get to do the fun part. You have to do the hard part.
Well, we love it. We make it fun too.
Yes. Okay. Good. And so at the end of the day, once you get the hard part over with, that is the most stressful part. I found that when I bought my first house, that the financing way back when. We bought the house, then did the financing, and it was so scary. Right. And I really don't want people to go through that today. I want people to be able to get the hard part out, know what they can afford, and then the home buying process is a lot simpler. Right. So the first thing I recommend people do is talk to a lender. I ask them to talk to my preferred lender. And then we sit down. Once we know the budget, then we sit down. And I also tell them, just going back about budget, I tell people to tell you how much they want to spend on a monthly basis.
Right. And that's key of what we do, because sometimes they come or they go online and they print their own little thing and their own pre-qualification. We kind of bring them back. We figure out what their needs are, what the budget is. And sometimes the budget that they want to spend, it's less than how much they qualify for.
Right.
So that gives you an idea how to go out there and show them properties.
Exactly. And it's nice to know what the budget is. It's nice to know how much you want to spend on a house. All of that's really important before we walk out the door and look at properties. Right. Once I know the budget, then we talk about what type of house they want. Okay. So obviously the higher your budget, the more your wants and needs you can get. But we talk about, do you want hardwood floors? How many bedrooms do you want? Do you want a garage? All of those things. And then with that information, I think of neighborhoods that they might want to be in. Okay. So for example, I had a client that thought they were absolutely going to be in Ashburn Village, but there was a better house in the Broadlands that met the same qualifications, was a little bit newer, met their needs. That's actually what they ended up buying.
Right. So it's just right next to it. So
yes, absolutely. So I listen to what they're looking for, and then I help them determine what they want in a house.
I think that's key, because a lot of people just try to speak for the client. One of the key factors is listening to what their wants and needs are, and try to feed that to the market.
Right.
Right? So let's close this out. What's the third thing you do with a buyer consultation?
So the third thing we talk about is their earnest money deposit. That is really huge, because you need to be prepared. I like preparation. And I give them a ballpark of what the earnest money deposit is. In this area, if you're buying a resale, it's typically 1 to 2% of the sales price. Okay. And I make sure that they have that. I don't want anyone being surprised when we write a contract and they don't have the money. So I like to make sure they're prepared before we walk out the door.
Fantastic. If you have any other questions for Nancy, we'll put her information down in this video so they can reach out to you. But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Let's do this again.
That sounds great.
All right, guys. See you next time in Mortgage Minute.